to the state?
No, Your Honor, just our thanks.
Okay, very good. We'll bring the jurors in that. Thank you, sir. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll just have your notebooks there with you. And Ms. Francis, further evidence for the statement?
Yes, sir. State would call Stephen Wax. Would you please state your name for the jury and spell it for the court reporter?
Stephen Wax, S-T-E-V-E-N-W-A-X.
And how are you employed, sir?
I was formerly employed with the City of Durham in their 911 Center.
When were you employed with the City of Durham 911 Center?
From February of 2010 to March of 2013.
And what were your duties while you worked at the City of Durham 911 Center?
I took 911 calls. I did dispatching for fire, EMS, and police.
And do you know whether the 911 Center keeps a record of the calls that are received?
Yes, they do.
Were you working on April 3rd, 2011?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive any 911 calls in reference to Century Oaks Drive and Country Scene Apartments?
Yes, I did.
Do you remember how many calls did you yourself receive?
I believe I received one call.
And do you know what time of the day or night that was?
After reviewing some stuff, it was between 3 and 3:30 in the morning.
And are you aware whether any other calls were made at that time?
We did receive a couple other calls related to the incident after I received the initial call.
So you're the one that actually received the first call?
Yes, I received a call from the victim's, I believe, nephew. And that was the first call we got on it.
And do you know anything about the second call?
It was a hang-up call from a female. We believed it to be the defendant.
And after the hang-up call, what would normally be done in 911?
We would track our history. We'd run the number to see if we had any history with that number. And if need be, we'd call the cell phone provider for any subscriber information.
And do you know whether or not that was done on this night?
Yes, it was.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And were any other calls received that you know of?
I believe the defendant's children called in to, I guess, let the police know where she was, but she wanted to give her side of the story or something.
And you said that these calls are maintained and recorded?
Yes, ma'am.
And are those records turned over to the authorities as requested?
Yes, they're held for a certain amount of time. I'm not sure the exact amount of time, but once they're requested, they're made available.
And in this particular case, have you had a chance this morning to listen to those 911 calls?
I did.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sir, I show you what's been marked, State's Exhibit Number 2. If you can take a moment and identify State's Exhibit Number 2.
It says 11-009831, so that would be the 9,831 call for 2011. Report number, actually, I guess it's police report number. And it's regarding Crystal Mangum, it says on there.
Will you say it again?
It has the police report number of 11-009831. It says 911 calls, and it says Crystal Mangum on it.
And the State's Exhibit Number 2 contained the 911 calls made on April 3rd, 2011?
I believe it did, yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the State would move to enter State's Exhibit Number 2,
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It's allowed.
and we would also ask to be able to publish that exhibit if Madam Clerk will turn everything on that end.
Yes, ma'am.
WAX. X.
Were the 911 calls on State's Exhibit Number 2, are they in order as received?
I believe they were. There was 3 calls that it seemed like it got broken up when I called the cell phone provider. It was broken into 3 recordings for some reason.
I'm waiting, Madam Clerk. Your Honor, if I may play them in order one after the other.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm calling from 937-9157. My uncle just got stabbed by his girlfriend, and it's near his lung.
Okay. You know what to ask you? I'm doing that. Someone else is sending help, okay?
Come on, baby, let's go out here where they come. Come on.
Okay. Are you with them now?
Yes, come on, Reggie.
Sir, are you with them now?
Yes, I am.
Okay. How old is it?
I'm ready to fix it, right? How old are you? 50, right? Stand up, man. Come on.
Okay. Do you wait?
47.
Okay. Do you wait?
Yeah, but he up there.
We're getting up on the way. Someone else is dispatching the police and EMS there. I need to ask you some questions, okay?
Right, I'm listening.
All right. Is he breathing?
Yeah, he's breathing. He's walking, standing up, and everything.
Okay. When did this happen?
He just knocked on my door.
Okay. Is his girlfriend still there?
No, she ain't here.
Where'd she go?
I don't know. She left. He just knocked on my door. I don't know where she left. She said something about his rape money. She stabbed him and he came knocking on my door.
Okay. Is there any serious bleeding?
Yeah, it's a lot of bleeding.
Okay. Is it completely alert?
Yeah, he's alert.
Okay. Is there more than one woman?
All I see is one, and it's on his left side. It's on the left side. Up under, it's on his rib cage, like right near the elbow.
Okay. What department does he live in?
He lives in Jake.
Okay. Where are you?
I'm outside now on the phone.
Okay. Where did you go? So you guys live in the same apartment, or do you live in a different apartment in the same complex?
We're the same complex, but it's just in different buildings.
Okay. Is your girlfriend possibly in the other apartment?
I have no idea about her.
Okay. What department did he get stabbed in?
In his apartment,
What's that?
35
you're breaking up a little bit.
Back to my house.
Okay, what unit are you in right now?
We stay in the same complex building, and he's getting a different aspect than I am.
Right, that's what I'm trying to show you now. You told me he got stabbed in jail, but I didn't know what unit you're in right now.
He went back to the apartment. He went to my apartment. He just went back.
Okay, what apartment is yours, though? So, up and down the way. It's not the one that's not holding up that house, okay?
I know. I'm in J. He's in L.
Okay. You can go to L or to J?
The L. I'm outside
Okay.
right now, so I have to write down when I was when the kid here. Crazy, the officer was just over here a few minutes ago about the post, and I heard him arguing, and I'm not going to go, he didn't respond.
Okay, so this is related to that phone issue earlier?
It wasn't nothing to do with the arguing while officers were here.
Okay. All right, and can you use the description of the girlfriend?
It's Crystal Mangum.
Is it Crystal Mangum?
She's Crystal Mangum. Oh, she was something from the dad of Dennis.
Okay, well, did you see what you're going? Did you see her tonight at all?
I went over there briefly, and I don't know what she had on or anything.
Okay, we're getting out on the way, so what's your name?
My name is Carlos Wilson.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, sir. How's it going with it? Pulling up right now.
I see the officers.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, where are you at? Hello? Where are you at? Hello? Okay, I'm sorry, what did you say you was again?
Durham 911 Center in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay, callback number for you,
919-560-4600.
and the mobile number.
Target number is 919-641-4655.
If the person comes back to first name Crystal,
Okay.
last name is Mangum, Mangun. Address is 1020 Savannah Avenue in Durham. And an alternate contact number is 919-598-0718.
Okay, it's Savannah Avenue, not Savannah Place, correct?
Yes, Savannah Avenue.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
T-Mobile Emergency Services.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Stephen Call from the 911 Center in Durham, North Carolina. You just taking subscriber information online?
Okay, this was a 911 call.
Yes, ma'am.
Your name, or your number?
16743.
Durham 911, where's your emergency?
Country State Apartment. Is there anyone being called over there?
What is the address, please?
I don't know the address. It's over at Country State Apartment.
Country Scene?
Country State on East Cornwallis.
Oaks Drive?
Yes.
Okay, and,
Has there been any calls? Has anyone called 911?
yes.
They have.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, someone just called me and said that they,
Okay, who are you, sir?
ma'am, I'm just someone who just was calling 911.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name is Mr. Brown.
Okay, wait a minute. Who called you that someone needed
I
911?
don't know, I just had a frantic phone call that there was some incident over at Country Senior Park. That's all I know. Thank you.
Okay. Adjournment 911, where's your emergency?
Yes, this girl was trying to beat my mom, and my mom was,
Okay, what is the address of your emergency?
3507 apartment in Country City apartment.
Okay, 3507 what? What street?
Apartment in Country City apartment.
Okay, wait a minute. Do you know what street name it is?
It's not a street name, I don't think it's a neighborhood.
Every apartment building is on a street.
Oh, it's not East on the East Corner.
Century Oaks Drive?
No.
Everything apartment is 3501 Central Oaks Drive. So,
It's Central Ocean. Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
okay, and what is the apartment number?
It's 3507 apartment in.
N like in Nancy. N as in Nancy?
Yes.
Okay, what is the phone number that you're calling from?
6414655.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
How could you get here and hurry up?
I need to know what happened. Can I speak to someone else, please?
Oh no, I'm the one.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
Let's see, this girl is.
There was what? Okay, can I speak to the person who is behind you, who's whispering? Hello?
I was trying to beat up on my mom, and my mom was trying to defend herself, and she had to get me stabbed, and she didn't hurry up and get here.
Okay, and what is your name, please? What is your name, please?
Please just hurry up and get here, it's really a lot of trouble, when you need to get here, when you take it, like, seriously, around here.
I understand that, I already asked your name.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. No further questions, Chairman.
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, just briefly. Mr. Wax, why, I took it from your earlier one, the calls 3, 4, and 5 were actually one call, it just, for some reason, that split it?
I don't know why it happened.
Okay. It also sounded to me like call 5 was actually the first one.
No, that came later on.
No, I'm talking about what they consider.
Oh, and that could be, yeah, that was probably me initially calling them,
Okay.
and then the second and third one.
How come it's not the policy to call the number back?
It is. I wasn't the one who took the call, so the lady who you heard in the recording ticket, she was probably calling them back, and since I was close by, usually we work, we hear it, we team up and help out, so I was calling back to the cell phone company for her, because she was calling the number back probably.
Okay. But there's just no recording of that?
I don't know what happened. I can't speak to that.
Okay. And you were the one who took the first call from the nephew?
Yes, sir.
And in that, the nephew, who identifies himself as Carlos Wilson, noted that Mr. Day was walking, standing up, breathing.
Yes, that's right.
Said he only noted one wound on the side.
Yes.
Okay. Had you seen my client prior to this? Did you know what she looked like?
Just from pictures in the news and stuff like that.
Okay. Because you seemed to recognize her name when it was stated.
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Redirect.
Just a couple, Your Honor. Have you ever had to call back someone that has hung up?
All the time when I was there. It was a regular thing.
If someone answers, is that normally recorded?
I'm pretty sure all the calls are recorded, but sometimes I guess it's not requested. You know, the records aren't saved forever. I think it's a 60 or 90 day period. You'd have to check with the administration there. So if it's not requested by, you know, law enforcement or someone else, it gets, you know, erased.
And a hang-up would also be recorded.
It should be. It's not on the emergency line. It would be on our administrative lines, but everything is recorded.
So whoever was trying to call that number back, it would have been an administrative line?
Yeah, just like when I called to T-Mobile, that was on an administrative line as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Meyer, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down. Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would call Officer K. Emanuel.
I do.
Ms. Franks.
Thank you. Officer, would you please state your name for the jury and spell your last name for the clerk, please?
I'm Kevin Emanuel, Emanuel.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm employed at the Durham City Police Department as an investigator.
How long have you worked with the Durham Police Department?
I'm 19 years.
Were you working on April the 4th, 2011?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have an occasion to be involved in the investigation of the stabbing of Reginald Day that occurred April 3rd, 2011?
I did.
Did you talk to any witnesses concerning that investigation?
I did.
And who did you talk to?
Carlos Wilson.
And when did you talk to Carlos Wilson?
I talked to him at 5:28 a.m.
On what day?
on 4/3/2011.
Was this right after the incident occurred?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you when you talked with Carlos Wilson?
I was at the domestic violence office.
And where is that located?
That's located on Duke Street.
Now, did you actually talk with him on April 3rd at 5:28 a.m.? Or was that the next morning?
I think it was the next morning.
Okay. Which would be
Yes.
April 4th.
That's correct.
What, if anything, did Carlos Wilson tell you?
He told me that he was at his apartment and that an officer was assisting with towing a vehicle from the apartment complex, and he heard Reggie arguing outside. He said that he went to Reggie's apartment. No one came to the door, so he left and got something to eat. And at around 2 o'clock, he heard someone knocking on his door. So he went to the door and he opened the door, and it was Reggie standing there with no shirt on, but he had on pants and shoes. And Reggie said to him that Crystal stabbed me and took my money. He said that Reggie didn't want to go to the hospital, but he kept saying that she has my rent money and she left on foot. And according to Mr. Wilson, because of the large amount of blood that he saw on Reggie, he went ahead and called 911.
Did he tell you anything else?
Yes.
What else did he tell you?
He said that that he asked if the children were at his house, at Reggie's house, and Reggie told him that the children was not at the house. And he informed me that there were 3 children that lived at the house with Reggie, along with Miss Mangum. And then he said that one of the children, a son, came up to his apartment earlier in the day asking for some black pepper. Then he said that around 12 a.m. He heard Crystal and Reggie arguing about rent money and saw them going upstairs.
Thank you, Officer Emanuel. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Okay. Yeah, just briefly. Good afternoon, Officer Emanuel.
Good afternoon.
Do you recall what apartment number Carlos was at?
Apartment J, as in John.
Apartment J. And which apartment was Reggie's?
Apartment N, as in Nora.
And when you spoke to Carlos, did I hear you correctly when you said he told you that Reggie did not want to go to the hospital?
That's correct.
He just wanted to let you know who had stabbed him?
That's correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Franks,
No further questions, Your Honor.
you may step down, sir.
Your Honor, we would ask that Officer Emanuel be released.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. Thank you. Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. State would call Officer Fry.
I do.
Ms. Franks?
Thank you. Officer, would you please state your name as well for the court reporter?
It's Officer Bradley Fry. Last name is Fry, F-R-E-Y.
And how long have you been a Durham Police Department officer?
Just over 3 years, since July 6th of 2010.
On April 3rd, 2011, what were your duties with the Durham Police Department?
I was assigned to uniform patrol on 4C.
Did you have occasion to receive a call to go to Century Oaks Drive, Country Scene Apartments?
I did, ma'am.
Did you respond to that call?
I did.
What time did you get there?
I don't know the exact time. I believe it was around 3:20 in the morning.
And what did you do upon arrival?
Upon my arrival, I got out of the vehicle, and I believe I was the second or third officer on scene. There was one officer in front of me. We went up the stairs, and the apartment was on the left. There was a gentleman at the top of the stairs, and he was pointing into the apartment on the left.
Did you go to the apartment?
I did.
When you walked into the apartment, what, if anything, did you observe?
Upon entering the apartment, the living room was the first room right there. I noticed that there was 2 or 3 knives on the couch. One had been stabbed into a cushion and broken off. There was a small table to the left of the couch. It had, I believe, 3 bottles of beer on the table. They appeared to be empty. And then the thing that caught my eye was there was a trail of blood droplets on the carpet that led from the living room all the way down the hallway to the back bedroom where I then saw the victim.
And where did you observe the victim in the bedroom?
He was standing about 4 feet in from the doorway, directly in the doorway.
And what, if anything, happened then?
At that time, I noticed that he was bleeding from his left side. He had his shirt off. I believe he had blue jeans on. And he was kind of standing there. We were trying to get him to sit down. And at that time, we were trying to use information. We didn't have his name, date of birth, or any other information we would need for the paramedics that were en route.
And what happened?
At that time, we tried to get him to come to the living room and sit down. He seemed a little upset. He didn't want to sit down at first. And then when we asked him what happened, he stated that she had stabbed him. We said, "Who is she?" He said, "You know who she is." I was like, "Sir, could you give us a name?" And he said it was Crystal Mangum.
Did he tell you anything else?
We asked what had happened, if he could tell us. He stated that they had been arguing about money for most of the night, at which point it had escalated and at some point became very verbal and hostile, and that she had gotten a knife and stabbed him, taken the money that was in the apartment, and went to her aunt's house.
And what did you do then?
At that point, I finished obtaining what information I could from him. Paramedics arrived and transported him to the hospital.
Could you tell whether or not he was in any type of pain or anything?
Yes, he continued. He would hold his side pretty frequently. He was making groaning noises, but he did appear to be in a good amount of pain.
Did you see the defendant in the home?
I did not.
Did you see the defendant anywhere else on the scene while you were there?
I did not.
And what else, if anything, did you do?
At that point, I responded to the hospital behind the paramedic truck.
Did you remain at the hospital or did you at some time leave?
I left later that night. I believe it was about 5 a.m. I never got to see the victim. I spoke with the doctor briefly. He said that...
Don't tell me what he said.
Sustained.
Oh. So you were not able to talk with Reginald Day anymore?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, just briefly. Good afternoon, officer. It's Fry, not Frey?
Fry, yes, sir.
Sorry. When you saw Mr. Day, where did you see where was he injured?
He appeared to be injured on his left side, right in halfway down, in between his top of his chest and his waist.
Did you see any other injuries?
Not at that time.
Was there any tissue or anything hanging out of that injury on his side?
I don't recall, sir.
Okay. You said he told you they were arguing about money and it escalated and became verbal and hostile, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did he tell you that he had been holding her down because she was disrespecting him?
No, sir.
Did he tell you that she had locked herself in the bathroom and he kicked the door down to get at her?
No, sir.
Did you notice the bathroom door had been kicked in?
No, sir, I did not.
How much time did you actually spend in the apartment?
I believe it was probably about 11 to 12 minutes.
So you just went in, assessed him, and then got him out to paramedics?
Yes, sir.
To the hospital. Do you know who the other officers were on the scene who got there before you?
Officer Knight and Officer Walker.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Franks, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may sit down.
Thanks, sir.
Again, Your Honor, we'd ask that Officer Fry be released.
Any objection?
No objection.
Sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go.
Thanks, sir.
Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would call C.B. Franklin.
Ms. Franks?
Officer, would you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please?
Officer Charles Franklin, CHARLES-FRANKLIN.
And how long have you been a Durham Police Department officer?
Since 2010,
Were you working April 3rd, 2011?
I was.
And in what capacity were you working in?
Uniform Patrol, District 1.
Did you have any contact on April 3rd, 2011 to be called to the scene of a stabbing at Century Oaks Drive, Country Scene Apartments?
Remember, I didn't hear the start of the question.
Did you have an occasion on April 3rd, 2011 to be called to the scene of a stabbing at Century Oaks Drive, Country Scene Apartments? Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, I did. Actually, I was in another district when it occurred, and I responded to the scene as an assisting officer.
What district were you on April 3rd, 2011?
District 1. And this occurred in District 4.
Okay. And when were you dispatched to respond to that scene?
I think I actually self-initiated it. At that time, I was in training, and just as an experience to get some knowledge of something like this, self-initiated it after it had been going on for probably 30 minutes or so.
And when you say you were in training, were you alone or did you have a training officer?
I had a training officer.
And who was that?
Officer Barazande.
Would you spell that last name for the court reporter?
I'll try. Barazandeh. If I'm not mistaken.
And did you go to the Country Scene Apartments?
I did.
And what did you do when you arrived there?
Basically, I just took up a support role helping Officer Walker, who was already on scene.
Did you talk to any of the witnesses?
I did. I talked to Mr. Carlos Wilson.
And what, if anything, did he tell you?
He said that earlier in the night he had heard Miss Mangum and Mr. Day outside arguing. He said he had heard Mr. Day say, "You have my money." And I guess a short while later, Mr. Day came and beat on his door and said, "She stabbed me."
What happened then?
We asked him if he knew where Miss Mangum may have gone, and he said that she probably went to her aunt's house. And we asked him if he knew where the aunt's house was. He said he did not, but his wife knew. And his wife told us that she could take us there. She didn't know the numbers of Miss Mangum's aunt's house or the address, but she could take us there.
When you say she could take us there, who?
She could lead us there. Mr. Wilson's wife could lead us to Crystal Mangum's aunt's house.
And who else was with you that she was going to take over there?
Officer Walker.
And did she take you two over there?
She did.
Did you guys walk or drive over there?
We drove.
Was it far away, close, or what?
It wasn't far at all. Just a few minutes, if that.
And what, if anything, did you do at that time?
We knocked on the door. Miss Mangum's aunt answered the door. I believe Mr. Walker asked her, "Is Crystal here?" And she basically pointed. She motioned with her hand, and she pointed to her living room.
Let me stop you right there for a second. Did you have a name of the person that answered the door?
I do not. I don't know her name.
What was the lighting when the aunt pointed to the living room?
The lighting was pretty low. It was pretty dim.
And what did you and Officer Walker do?
After she pointed to the living room, we found that Miss Mangum was laying on the floor. We approached her. We asked her to stand up so that we could take her into custody, pretty much.
When you say she was laying in the floor, would you describe to the jury exactly how you found Miss Mangum?
She was pretty much just laying on her stomach. stretched out across the floor with her arms up near her head, like she would be sleeping, sort of.
Her head was on her arms?
Yes, ma'am.
And where on the floor in the living room was she? What was she near?
Two couches, between two couches. I think the couches were angled and she was laying on the floor between them or in front of them.
You said as if she had been sleeping. Could you tell whether it appeared she was sleeping or not?
She was not asleep, to my knowledge, when we were there. From what it looked like, she was just laying on the floor, but she was in a position as if though she were asleep.
And when you approached her, what happened?
We just asked her to stand up. She asked if we would help her up, which we did. And then she was basically placed into custody, taken into custody.
Did you notice anything about her appearance when she got up?
The only thing I noticed about her appearance was that her eyes were red, as if she was crying. But other than that, I didn't note anything out of the ordinary.
Who else was in the home?
Obviously, Officer Walker and Miss Mangum's aunt.
Did you see anybody else in the home?
No, ma'am.
Did you see Miss Mangum? Did she have anything with her at the time?
Not that I recall.
Thank you, officer. No further questions.
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer?
No, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down.
Thank you, sir.
Further evidence for the state?
Yes, sir. The state would ask to call for KT Williams.
Ms. Franks?
Sir, would you please state your name and spell it also for the court reporter?
Officer KT Williams, Williams.
And how long have you been with the Durham Police Department?
8 years.
Were you working April 3rd, 2011?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your duties on that date?
Patrol training officer.
And who, if anybody, were you training at that time?
He is no longer with the agency.
What was his name, do you know?
I think it was Stewart at the time.
Could it have been Thorpe?
Thorpe. It's been so many, I'm sorry.
On April 3rd, 2011, did you have an occasion to respond to a stabbing that occurred at Country Scene Apartments, Century Oaks Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember what time it was that you were either dispatched or got at the scene?
No, ma'am, I do not recall the time.
What did you do when you got there?
Actually, myself and Officer Thorpe were placed in position of securing the scene while the search warrant was obtained.
And you say secure the scene, what exactly do you mean by that?
Just to make sure no one exit and enters that is not on the case or who are not police officers.
And do you remember what apartment that was that you were securing?
Not the exact number itself.
Did you observe what was in the apartment or do any type of walkthrough while you were securing the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
What, if anything, do you remember seeing?
Upon entering the apartment, I observed there was a couch and there was a knife blade sticking inside the couch. There was also a knife handle which was appeared to be broken off and was laying on that same couch.
Did you observe anything else?
There was a broken door frame to the bathroom. Some blood in the hallway. and I think some broken glass in the living room on the floor.
Can you describe the bathroom door and frame?
It was kind of hollow frame door, wasn't too sturdy.
And what if anything else did you do?
That was it, just to make sure there was no one coming in and out of the scene, and to just hold the residence until the detective was able to respond back.
And did anyone else respond to the scene?
There were forensics personnel, the actual detective who secured the search warrant, and just myself and Officer Thorpe.
And when did you and Officer Thorpe leave?
Once released by the detective.
Nothing further,
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you, sir.
Your Honor, may Officer Williams be released also?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go. Further evidence for the state?
Yes, Your Honor. State will call Officer Walker. Thank you, Your Honor. Would you please state your name for the jury and spell it for the court reporter?
Officer C.M. Walker, that's W-A-L-K-E-R.
And how long have you been with the Durham Police Department?
Approximately 7 years.
Were you working April 3rd, 2011?
Yes, I was.
In what capacity were you working at that time?
District 4C Uniform Patrol.
Did you have an occasion to be called to the scene of a stabbing, Country Scene Apartment, Century Oaks Drive?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember when you were dispatched?
As far as the time,
Yes, sir.
I know it was early morning.
And what did you do?
Arrived on scene, attempt to locate it, the victim, and get EMS in as quickly as possible.
And once you arrived on the scene, what did you do?
Found the victim and advised EMS that the scene was clear, that they could come in.
And what, if anything else, did you do?
Just secured the scene.
After you secured the scene, did you ever leave the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you go?
I went over to 1721 East Cornwallis Road, Apartment E.
Is that far from where the initial scene was?
It's within walking distance.
And why were you going over to that address?
I was told that's where the suspect could be located.
And was anyone with you?
Other officers, along with another family member from the victim.
When you arrived at this apartment, what, if anything, did you do?
I knocked on the door. I believe a small child came to the door. I asked for if there was any adult in the home. That's when I heard a voice apartment telling me to come on in.
Did you go in?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to identify who had said come on in?
Miss Howard.
And what, if anything, happened then?
I asked her if Crystal Mangum was in the apartment, and she said that she was laying on the floor.
And what did you do?
I asked her to stand up.
Okay, would you describe how you found the defendant?
She was laying down on the floor.
And how was she laying?
On her stomach.
Where was she as far as laying on her stomach? Kitchen, den, living room?
I would assume in den, living room area.
And what did you do?
I asked her to stand up and then placed her in handcuffs.
Did she stand up?
Not immediately.
How many times did you have to ask her to stand up?
I believe it's at least once or twice.
After you asked her once or twice, what happened?
I helped her stand up.
Could you tell what she was doing while she was on the floor?
It appeared that she was sleeping.
And why did you have to help her stand up?
It kind of appeared that she was intoxicated.
Once you got her up, what did you do?
I walked her out to my patrol car.
Was she placed in handcuffs?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you do?
I transported her to Durham Police Headquarters.
When you were getting her off the floor, was there anyone else in the apartment at that time?
Ms. Howard, other officers.
Did you see where the small child went?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Did you see any other children?
That's the only one that I can recall.
When you got to headquarters, what did you do with the defendant?
I walked her up to the second floor interview room.
And then what happened?
While we were walking up there, she stated that she was hurrying all over. And while we were on our way up to the second floor, I went ahead and called the EMS to come out there and check her out.
When you were back at the apartment getting her off the floor, did you notice any injuries or anything on her at that time?
Nothing obvious.
Did the defendant tell you at that time she was hurting?
No, ma'am.
When's the first time she told you she was hurting?
After I got her out of the patrol car at Durham Police Headquarters when we were starting to walk up the stairs.
How many people in your 7 years of law enforcement have done that as you were taking them up the stairs in handcuffs?
Quite a few.
Once you called EMS, where did you take the defendant?
We were second floor, police headquarters. She was in the waiting room, not waiting room, but in the interview room.
And is that a recorded room?
Yes, ma'am.
Who else was in the interview room other than the defendant and you?
She was in the room. I was actually sitting outside of the room.
Was the door open when you were sitting outside the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Where exactly was she sitting in the room?
The door's going to be straight ahead. I was sitting right in front of the door. There's a table on the back wall, and she was just sitting in. There's usually typically 1 to 2 chairs in there, and she was just sitting in one of the chairs.
And what was she doing as you waited for the medics to respond?
She kept trying to wiggle out of her handcuffs.
Did she ever get any of them off?
She got one off.
And when she did that, what did you do?
I placed her back inside the handcuffs.
And did she do anything with handcuffs after that?
She would sometimes try to wiggle out of them, but then eventually I believe she just ended up falling asleep.
Did you say anything to her when she was trying to wiggle out of them and when she actually got them off?
I just told her that, you need to stay in these. And basically that was about it.
Did she say anything to you about why she was trying to get them off?
No, ma'am.
Did the medics arrive?
Yes, ma'am.
And what, if anything, did they do?
They checked her out, they cleared her, and then they left the scene.
And what happened after that?
I stayed there until I was relieved by Officer Hillary Thompson.
During the time that you first saw the defendant to the time you left her at headquarters, did you notice any injuries or anything on her person?
Like I said, nothing obvious.
I know she said that she was hurting all over. Physically, how was she acting?
She was acting like she was intoxicated. She just didn't appear to be acting normally as far as, people that I've arrested before, asking questions. She never said anything. The only words that she ever said to me was that she was hurting all over.
Were you able to see her in your interaction with the EMS?
Somewhat.
Could you tell how she was acting for them?
Not really.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down. Further evidence for the state?
Yes, sir. May we release Officer Walker?
Yes. Officer Walker, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go.
Your Honor, the state would call James Williams to the stand.
Franks?
Sir, if you please state your name for the jury and spell it for the court reporter.
James Williams, James, Williams.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a detention officer now in Greensboro. I used to work for Durham.
April 3rd, 2011, how are you employed?
April 3rd, with Durham as a detention officer.
And would you describe for the jury what a detention officer is?
We basically watch over inmates, criminals when they get arrested.
Now, did you know the defendant, Crystal Mangum?
When she was locked up on a previous charge, that's why I initially met her at.
Objection. It moves to strike.
Sustained jurors to disregard the circumstances of the prior meeting.
Would you describe your relationship between you and the defendant?
Friends, associates.
Do you know about the date when you met her?
Around 2010, maybe February.
Did you give her your phone number?
I did not.
Did you ever talk to her on the phone?
Yes, on the cell phone.
Did you call her first, or did she call you first, if you remember?
She called me first.
And do you know what number she called you at?
She called the Durham County Jail, the Master Control Center, and left a message for me.
Now, did you know when you got that message who was calling you?
No.
Do you remember what number it was that you called back?
No, it's been a long time.
And do you know about what date this was?
I can't remember.
Was it in 2010, 2011?
Maybe 2011.
When you called that number back, what happened?
Crystal answered the phone and she told me that it was her calling and she had got released, her charges had got dismissed, or they gave her time served, and she had my number from them, so we kept in touch from time to time.
Sustained, now instructed not to discuss any prior prior incidents of that nature, if you just simply respond to the question.
Okay.
Did you call her from your cell phone?
I did.
And what was your cell phone number at the time?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
How many times did you talk to her after that?
Maybe 12 times.
And could your phone number have been 919-426-4415 at that time?
Yes.
What carrier were you with?
Maybe T-Mobile or Sprint.
Prior to April 3rd, 2011, when was the last time you had talked to the defendant or seen the defendant?
Approximately 2 months.
Now, on April 3rd, 2011, did you have an occasion to hear from the defendant?
Can you repeat that?
On April 3rd, 2011, did you have an occasion to either see or hear from the defendant?
I think that's when she initially called me. I think that's when the incident took place.
And when you say she called me, who called you?
Crystal called my cell phone.
And do you know what time she called your cell phone?
It was about 2:30 in the morning.
And what, if anything, did she tell you?
She, are you ready for me to go into details?
I'd like to know what she told you on the phone call.
She basically told me that she was crying hysterically, and she called and said that her boyfriend jumped on her, and she stabbed him to get him off of her. And I was working night shift that night, and I panicked myself from hearing the news. And I asked her where she was, and she said she was up the street, ran up the street. And I told her she needs to go back to the scene and call 911 to get help.
So you were working at the Durham County Jail?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you tell her anything else other than to go back to the scene and to call 911 for help?
No, ma'am. The phone disconnected.
Did you hang up?
I think the phone hung up on her end because I tried to call her back.
When you tried to call her back, what happened?
No answer.
How many times did you try to call her back?
Just once.
Did she ever call you back?
Not that night, no.
Did you end up talking to law enforcement about this conversation that you had?
The following day, Durham police called me, asked me to come in and write a statement.
And did you write a statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call 911?
No, ma'am. I was working.
If I may approach the witness, Your Honor.
Yes.
Mr. Williams, I'll show you what's been marked state's exhibit number 3. If you take a moment and see if you can identify that.
Yes, it's my statement.
And is that in your handwriting?
Yes, ma'am.
And does it appear today the same as it was back then, other than the red exhibit sticker?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, state would move to enter into evidence state's exhibit number 3.
Any objection?
No.
It's allowed.
Mr. Williams, if you would please loudly and slowly read what you wrote as for your statement.
On the initial statement.
Yes, sir.
On April 3rd, 2011, Officer James Williams was on duty between the hours of 1940 and 08 at the Durham County Detention Center when I received a phone call approximately 4:30 from Crystal Mangum. Crystal Mangum was crying and sounded very upset. I tried to calm her down and asked her what was wrong. She stated, "I just stabbed my boyfriend 3 times for jumping and beating on me." I continued to try and calm her down because Crystal was very upset and crying. She kept saying, "I believe he's dead." I asked her where she was, and she said she ran up the street from where the incident took place. I told Crystal to call the police and go back to the scene to check on her boyfriend. Crystal Mangum stated that I heard a siren and the phone line cut off. I attempted to call her back and I did not get an answer. From that point, I have not heard nor spoken with Crystal Mangum.
Thank you, sir. And you said you heard a siren and then the phone went off.
It did.
Now, since April 3rd, 2011, have you either talked to the defendant or seen the defendant?
Just around the facility, just passing.
And you now work with the Guilford County?
Sheriff's Department, yes, ma'am.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Meyer.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir. You may step down.
Your Honor, may Mr. Williams be released also?
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, sir, you're released from your subpoena. You're free to go.
And Your Honor, may Mr. Meyer now approach?
Yes. right, ladies and gentlemen, issue that I need to take up outside the presence of the jury, and I'm also going to, rather than keep you for the remainder of the afternoon, we also have a scheduling issue with some witnesses. I'm going to go ahead and recess for your purposes today. You can go about your business for the remainder of the day and report in tomorrow morning at 9:30. Again, please recall the rules and instructions I've given to you. Don't talk among yourselves or with anyone else about this case. Please don't form or express any opinions about the outcome. No media or independent investigation regarding these matters, and please have no conversations with any parties, witnesses, or lawyers. If you leave your notebooks in your chairs, and again, report at 9:30 to the jury deliberation room in the morning. Thank you very much for your service. All right. I understand the primary purpose that we're recessing is some witnesses, schedules of witnesses. So let's just talk very briefly. I think the only thing we need to take up is just think about the schedule tomorrow. You anticipate several witnesses tomorrow. Do you have a full day's schedule, or what's your best estimate for tomorrow?
I thought I had a full day schedule, but based on what happened today, I may not. But I'll work on that tonight and see what I can do.
All right. Well, we're moving efficiently today, so thank you very much for that, for having witnesses available today. And do your best to have at least, let's say, 2/3 of a day tomorrow. I know that oftentimes jurors appreciate being released early on a Friday afternoon, so that's not going to be too disturbing. And then we'll have, of course, full days all next week to work.
Yes, sir. Monday I have 4 individuals flying from out of state.
Okay. All right. Well, apart from that, is there anything that we need to take up this afternoon?
The only thing, and it may not have to be on the record, I just want to make an inquiry of the photographer. Can I assume that that's not strong enough to read any notes, and if it is, they'll block them out before they publish them? Because that's a pretty hefty lens from that distance.
Right. I've actually had a conversation not about in your direction, but also in my direction.
Okay.
And I've been assured that that is not, that there is no images being taken of any notes or anything of that sort. So.
Okay, that's fine, and I didn't assume, so I just wanted to confirm. Thanks.
Right. Yes, sir. You had also talked about a logistical issue during jury selection about during the breaks and recesses. We can talk about that off the record in terms of making sure that you and your client have facilities you can use that don't cross paths with the jurors. Any continuing concerns about that?
Just as far as when there's a 10-minute break, since I've advised my client and myself to go down a floor and over, sometimes it takes us, we need a little bit longer than if we could just walk down the hall.
Okay, yes, sir, we can certainly accommodate that. All right, Ms. France, anything that you need to bring to my attention?
No, you're not this time.
All right, very good. In that case, we'll be in recess until 9:30 tomorrow morning.
We'll be in recess at 9:30 tomorrow.